unprecedented. This is the first time the U.S. government has ever released a secret foreign intelligence wiretap application, heavily redacted, as you can see. But this 400 pages of documents does shed some light on how the feds came to surveil former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Chris Hayes has been reporting on this story from the very start. He interviewed Carter Page about the ins and outs and is here live to tell us what we are learning. Here is the context. The new material debunks some of Donald Trump's attacks in this space, showing the FBI first applied for a wiretap on Page in October 2016 based on the suspicion he was an agent of a foreign power. The Kremlin conducting basically, quote, targeted recruitment on him to undermine and influence the 2016 election. So, wow, the FBI appearing to play the collusion card, saying it believed Russia had, quote, coordinated with Page and possibly others associated with the Trump campaign. Now, the courts have approved of this wiretap of Page, so there isn't any public evidence that has shown any problem with the fact he was surveilled. That does not prove that he was a foreign agent or that he has done anything criminal, but it does indicate several judges found there was good reason to investigate him. If you're keeping score, that means the new material does help some critics of the Trump campaign more than it helps Page, who once told Chris Hayes he thought this moment today would somehow help him.
I think when the truth comes out, when Speaker Paul Ryan says the FISA warrant or the details about the Dodgy dossier and what happened and all those documents around that is going to be released, that's what I'm really excited about. And I think that the truth will set a lot of people free.
Here is some of the truth.
Yeah, a redacted truth.
Tell us.
There's a few key things here. One is that you got to take a step back for a second, right? The entire chronology of the story about the origin of this and its centrality to the, quote, witch hunt makes no chronological sense. The investigation starts in summer, in July. This application happens in October. So it just has never, ever scanned that the origin story of what happened was the, quote, dossier, was Carter Page, was Pfizer surveillance. Ever, ever, ever. The dates don't line up, right? So that becomes clear here. Second of all, the other thing that strikes me is think about the secrecy of this document and the explosiveness of it had any part of it made its way to the public in October of 2016. That part that you just read.
Yeah, it would have been terrible for them.
We worry about Russians coordinating with Carter Page to subvert the election, right? That was secret. It was kept secret. It should have been kept secret. The whole thing was run in secret. Carter Page has never been, as you said, he's never been formally accused of a crime. He's never been indicted. But again, it's another indicator of the degree of alarm there was in real time, while that campaign was happening, while we were getting news about what the Russians were doing, that there was an active effort of collusion that was being actively investigated by the FBI, and never, ever, ever a peep was made in public or leaked any of it to the public.
Well, something you've reported on for a long time is the weaponization and misuse of information laundered into conspiracy theory. We keep having these moments where rules are changed or broken, precedents broken to get something out, and then when it finally comes out,
they say it's the opposite of what it is.
It's either the opposite or they don't want to talk about it. Take a look at Sarah Huckabee Sanders for your analysis on this now that it's all out today.
Is he concerned, or does he not believe the intelligence community's assessment that Carter Page was a Russian agent?
Again, I think that we've spoken extensively what our position is on this, and we have no changes to that.
Not exactly a victory lap.
No, I mean, this has been, here's the thing. There's been a pattern here where they attempt to attack and subvert the investigation into the possibility of collusion with a foreign adversary by pointing to some secret thing you can't see. It's like a neat narrative trick. Over there, inside that box, is a thing that shows it's all a deep state conspiracy. And then eventually the box gets opened up, and it shows just the opposite, and they maintain that it is justified what they did. Devin Nunes has done this time and time again. Carter Page, who I think believes this is somehow exculpatory, believes that he's the subject of a vast conspiracy, was sort of doing the same thing today.
Did he text you that today?
No, but he is very celebratory about this document and what it shows, as is Devin Nunes and as is the president, even though what it shows is an incredibly rigorous process put into view to deal with what was at the time in real time an inordinately serious set of allegations they were investigating.
Well, and doesn't it show concrete evidence from multiple sources of a suspicion that he was either knowingly or unknowingly being abused by a foreign power, and that's bad?
And it's that latter part that's key here, right? I mean, much of what is said in that application that we could read is about him being essentially recruited somewhat without his own knowledge into being an agent of a foreign power as they are trying to subvert this election. There seems to be a lot of that, right? There are attempts at a lot of recruitment. There's attempts at a lot of reaching out. There's a lot of doors that are getting knocked down throughout that campaign. Again, now that we know about, which we didn't know about at the time.
There's also the other aspect of this, which is, you know, when people say play Freebird, like we always go back to the classics. But you're here. You've had some revelatory exchanges.
Freebird.
Let's play the Freebird, which is Chris Hayes' exchange with Carter Page.
You told one reporter I had no meetings with the Russians. Now you're telling me I had no meetings with the Russians about the things they were talking about. I'm just trying to get a straight answer. Like, did you meet Sergei Kislyak in Cleveland? Did you talk to him?
I'm not going to deny that I talked with him. Although
So you did talk to him.
I will say that I never met him anywhere outside of Cleveland. Let's just say that much.
The only time that you met him was in Cleveland.
That I may have met him.
This has been Carter's sort of line throughout, right? A kind of grudging and glancing admission that there were contacts with Russians and all sorts of contexts that are always like, they're just nothing. They're just nothing. Oh, it was I met him for 5 minutes, or I met this person, or maybe I met this deputy of a Russian oil company.
Or I'm going to read you the last line there, because, you know, you and I both like to see what witnesses say. Quote, I may have met him, possibly I might have met him.
Right. and this is what happens time and time again. And part of what I think is key to understand about this FISA application is he's having these brush-ups and these interactions with various people. The intelligence community already is running surveillance on a lot of them on the other side.
Right.
The reason there's an application on Carter is because he's an American citizen. You can't surveil an American citizen without going to the FISA court. But a Russian agent you can surveil.
Right.
So they're looking at the other side of the context. They're looking at what people are reporting back, right? In the interior of Russian intelligence about their contacts with this individual that is causing them, in part, to want to surveil him in the first place.
Well, and that again goes to what might be some asymmetric information here, which is Carter.
That's the key to, I think, understanding this whole thing.
Right. So the feds are all over it. So, to quote Sean Carter, feds still lurking. Somewhere in America, Miley Cyrus still twerking. And the feds have been lurking around all this. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.